Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on a Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening. We were just joking that we had our budget meeting just like this and we had 2 people show up, so it seems that people are much more excited about downtown and Gourmet Alley than they are about the city's budget, which being a former finance guy really hurts my feelings, but that's okay. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy Forbes. I'm the city administrator for the great city of Gilroy. And we're here tonight to talk about this project. We've had several community meetings about this project over the course of the timeline. And this is the last one before a lot of stuff starts to happen. But before we get into all that, I want to introduce a few people. First of all, we do have, I just saw one council member, Mr. Dion Bracco is here in attendance. We also have Heba Elgindi, who is the city's public works director. We also have George Duran. George, right there. George is the senior civil engineer, and Julie Oates is, Julie, wave your hand, is also an engineer in CIP, and so they're here to really going to be able to help you answer some of the technical questions. We also have the contractor. Jared is here with Trinchero Construction. Really happy to have them here. Really happy to have them involved in the project after some of the bidding that we had where we didn't get bids and we got crazy dollar bids. Trinchero really came in and worked with us and tried to help us find solutions. So we're happy to have them and we're happy that they're here for the project. And then lastly, we have Rochelle, and you can send questions and things like that to our public information office, and she'll give you some links as well to where you can give us your feedback. And so over the next few weeks, you're going to see a lot of things coming out of Rochelle, who is our community engagement manager, about what's going on. So I will tell you from the very start, we are going to be very disruptive. We are going to tear downtown up, and it is going to be a pain for all of you, but we hope you get through it with us because it's going to look really nice when we do get done. We also have, this is being recorded. It is not being live streamed. So if you knew somebody who wanted to be here, couldn't be here. And we also have Spanish translation through Wordly as well. And so if you need that or need some assistance, please just let us know. So with that, here's all the good information. Most of you have my email and Heba as well. If you have any questions afterwards, and then there's Jared and such. So I'm going to turn most of this over to Heba, but a couple of things to make, is we can take questions. I'd prefer that most of them come at the end, but if it's something you want to pause, we can bring the microphone to you, as long as the question is about that particular slide, okay? We get to the end, we can do open questions about anything you want to talk about with the downtown project, but let's kind of just stay on that so we can keep the concentration or keep the conversation kind of focused, and we can get through all the material. And then if you have other random questions or whatever, we can do those at the end. So with that, I'll turn it over to Heba, who is going to take you through most of the presentation. Okay.
Thank you. Is this mic working?
Yeah, this one works too. I just wanted to turn it.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. Just to give you some background about the project, and I'm sure you're quite familiar with it, the city received a Caltrans Clean California local grant in the amount of about $3.9 million. And Council awarded the design to CSG consultants back in August of 22. Most recently, City Council awarded the construction contract to Trinchero this past month. And under the approved construction contract, there will be infrastructure and aesthetic improvements along Gourmet Alley between 4th and 6th. And as I will explain later on in the presentation, there will be additional work scope beyond what was approved by City Council last month. The process that the city went through for the construction bid, it was first advertised in October of last year. Unfortunately, no bids were received. So city staff went out again soliciting bids from 3 contractors and we received 2 bids that exceeded the overall project budget. The initial budget estimate was prepared back in 21 when the city first applied for the grant. So by the end of 23, there has been significant increase in costs because of the inflation. At that time, city staff started coordinating with Caltrans on requesting to extend the duration of the reporting on the grant and completing the project, and started to do value engineering and reducing the scope to come up with a plan that we can implement within the available funds. Caltrans, in January of this year, agreed to the reduced scope with a focus on the improvements on Gourmet Alley. That's what they were interested in. And we received the bid for construction based on the reduced scope from Tranchero for the amount of $2,975,000. So the improvements that were approved by City Council last month based on the received bid would cover the resurfacing of Gourmet Alley between 4th and 6th Streets, would also resurface the 2 parking lots, would add lighting, 3 trash enclosures on Gourmet Alley, trash receptacles, landscaping and associated irrigation, seating benches, bike racks, and general improvements in signage and pavement markings. And was the ultimate goal to transfer the alley to service pedestrian access only. The reduction of the scope included the removal of 6 landscape planters and 3 trees on the east side of Gourmet Alley, and this is mainly because the initial design would have restricted access to emergency services, especially fire trucks. So some of the devices on the east side of Gourmet Alley had to be removed. Also removed are 11 poles on the east side of Gourmet Alley that were initially proposed to support the overhead string lights that was removed from the scope. I should mention, however, that we still have 13 light poles, 12 planters, 13 trees that will be added as part of the scope on the west side of Gourmet Alley. The landscaping and trees and the parking lots was removed, and the 6-inch trench for drainage was replaced with 4-inch trench instead. This slide shows the overall budget of the project. So the city is receiving the amount of $3,960,000 in grant fund. We already spent about $417,000 on the design that was completed by CSG. And the bid for construction came at $2,975,000, in addition to $65,000 by other companies for construction support, including design support during construction by CSG. So this leaves us about $503,000 of contingency. That's why I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that there is potential for adding scope to the work. So what we're looking at adding under using the contingency funds as well as will take a advantage of this year's pavement rehabilitation project to resurface Gourmet Alley between 6th and 7th, the missing block, to resurface Railroad Alley between Lewis Street and Hornland Court. And this item actually was recently added. It was not part of the scope, but we're adding it for safety purposes, which is fencing between the railway tracks and Railroad Alley, and improved signage, especially wayfinding signs in the area. Would you like to comment on this slide, Janine? Okay. So the overall feel in terms of improvements to the overall environment and safety conditions, the main goals of the project will still be achieved on both Gourmet Alley as well as Railroad Alley. These renderings are for Gourmet Alley. So Gourmet Alley is expected to be closed for a few weeks during the resurfacing and trenching work. What's shown on this slide and next is the actual closure that would remain for the vast majority of the construction, starting next week through September. And this is between 4th and 5th Street, covering about half a block of Gourmet Alley and the parking lot area. Access from 4th Street and some of the parking will remain. So the entry point will be from 4th Street and exit off of Eagleberry Street. This slide is just to show you that the final configuration after construction for that parking lot will be different because we needed to add the trash enclosure that's included part of the scope, and based on that, we also needed to change the overall circulation in the parking lot. This is for the section between 5th Street and 6th Street. I should mention that this alignment here and the yellow line shows the construction zone, shows where the closure would be starting next week through September. Access to the parking area, some of the parking area would remain from 5th Street and from Eagleberry. And we can go back to these slides if you have questions. Similarly, layout of that parking lot following the construction will be different. A trash enclosure will be added, and the circulation patterns will be revised. The parking lot between 6th and 7th Streets will remain open throughout the duration of the construction, except for a few weeks for the installation of the third trash enclosure in this area and for the resurfacing of the alley between 6th and 7th. Other than that, this improved parking lot will be accessible. So we hope that we can get your contacts through this URL and QR code so that we can provide you with updates on the project construction in the upcoming months. And if you have any questions also, there will be a form for you to communicate with us easily. With that, we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So thank you, Heba. So I can somewhat MC whatever questions you have, because each person wouldn't be able to answer every question, and we have different people here who can help you. So if we want to go ahead and start the Q&A, just raise your hand and let us know your question, and we'll bring you a microphone. And
Hello. Hey. My name is Eric Ingram. Along with my wife, we have operated Promised Land Brewing Company since 2019. And it's been brought to our attention that we're spending some money here in the Gourmet Alley. And from our standpoint, that is fantastic. I think this is long overdue. This would have been great 5 years ago, but we'll take it now. Our concern with this is just that we can operate while the construction is going on, and that afterwards that we would have some kind of access to our back alley. We have a roll-up door that we use almost daily, so I would like access to that. If that is possible, I would like to know.
So we have been contacted by another business that has concern about the access to the alley, and we're working with that through them. And Victoria, who is the economic development manager, is really your point of contact. She's going to take you and hold your hand through this whole process and figure out what we can come up with to make sure that we meet our primary goals of keeping this a pedestrian alley when during peak times, and then allowing businesses occasional or infrequent use of the alley for equipment or whatever. So there are solutions there, but we really have to get into the details of what exactly you need, and Victoria can take you down that path.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes, if there was a half day in there that we can receive stuff and get deliveries out, that would more than work for us.
Yeah, these are the things you figure out after you decide to build a whole big, $4 million project. But we're here to listen to you and see how we can make it work.
Hi, Leah Orlando. We own Shag Salon. We're in back park. So we have our own parking lot, which we have an easement with the city to be able to access. And we were told that we weren't going to have access till the end of the year. And we need that. Part of it is that's our ADA access for our building. Also, there's three things, actually. I have a problem, or I have a question. You guys are putting a planter out kind of adjacent to our parking lot, and we already have problems with sewage and root system. And we have trees that are existing, and we've had problems. We've had issues with the city for the past 10 years. With our drainage. And my question is, what's going in over there? And if it is trees, that the root system, I just want to address it now, if it's going to be a problem. Because all those trees have problems within that parking lot and within every business. I had one more question.
Where was your business at again?
It's on 64 Fifth Street. So our entrance, us and the Foot Doctor, I think there's other businesses on Monterey. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if Keva's here. He was supposed
I see.
to be.
You're right here. Yeah, right there.
He needed access also. He's a Foot Doctor, and they have their own parking also. And we were told when everybody went around that we weren't going to have access to our parking lot, which we need.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the last thing, you guys said you were putting trash in, like a trash. Okay, so we have issues with the city and trash already. They won't come into the parking lot to take our trash. So is that going to be a thing? Like, are they finally coming in and taking our trash from where our trash services should be?
Well, I can answer the questions that I think pertain to the city. The city does not pick up your trash. That's the garbage, franchise that does that. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to let Heba talk about this because she knows this stuff better than I do. So Heba, here's their property right here. This is their existing parking lots. If you can see my arrow going there, and and then if you would talk a little bit about the trash enclosures.
Can I also say I'm really happy Trinchero is the contractor on this?
So are we.
Yes, we're also glad that we were able to contract with a local contractor. Actually, this area will be accessible for the majority of the duration of the construction. As I mentioned, this yellow line here shows well the closure would be starting next week. These green lines shows access, vehicular access to the parking area and circulation patterns. So you would be able to enter and exit off of 5th Street and enter and exit off of Eagleberry. With regards to the trash enclosure, this is where it's going to be located. And yes, it will be picked up from there on a regular basis.
Okay.
I think you had another question. Did I address all your questions?
Oh, the 80. Mine was more access to our back parking lot. We were told when they brought our flyers that we weren't going to have access at all to our parking lot.
Well, actually, the flyer was general.
No, we had somebody bring it, and we
I
asked,
see.
and they said we wouldn't have access to our parking lot for the duration of the year.
No, you will, except during the trenching and resurfacing of the alleyway. And this is a relatively short period of time. It's
Okay.
only a few weeks.
Okay. Oh, and the trees.
Yes, actually, those trees will be placed in planters.
Yeah, so are the others.
And the drainage, part of the scope of this project is repairs to the drainage.
No, I'm saying the root system. So we have trees that are planted in planters that are messing up all of our drain system. I'm not talking drainage. I'm talking our sewer pipes and systems under there. And I want to make sure, because I want this on record that we talked about it, because we have, all of us in that parking lot have issues with drainage, and it goes from your parking lot into our businesses, and it's your trees.
We will have to look into that in more details and see whether it's located within private or public property and what can we do about it.
No, I'm saying, yeah, it's going to be private, it's going to be your trees, but where that's going, again, I just wanted on record.
So the trees that are currently there in invasive root systems that migrate towards the sewer lines.
Yes.
So we just want to make sure that the trees that are being planted don't have, invasive roots that go towards those areas, because that's what's causing the sewer.
Yes,
Is
we
all the root
understand.
systems of those trees. So whether it's root barriers or whatever you guys are planning on putting down there, that those trees do not cause any additional problems to the sewer system.
Because you're right against our parking lot. Which, again, we have one right there, and it's city, but we have nothing but root problems with our sewage.
Yes, we understand. And it's really dependent on the type of trees, where it would be located and all that. And looking into the existing trees, that would be outside of the scope, but we could look into it under our department.
Well, no, I'm not talking, even existing, but you guys have trees on your plan. I just want to make sure, because City of Gilroy is known for that. We have all these trees along the city that were planted by you guys and mandatory, and they're pulling up sidewalks, they're messing up people's sprinkler systems, and their root barriers have been demolished over decades.
I think you are officially on the record. And we thank you for that. And one thing we'll also do is we will log all the questions that were asked tonight, and we'll provide some written answers, and you'll be able to see that. And please keep asking questions, keep emailing us saying, hey, I'm not sure about this. That's how you stay involved and make sure you're being heard. So.
Hello, my name's Richard Legends. With Covale Tap Room in Gourmet Alley, so we're between 4th and 5th Street. It might be fine, though.
It's fine, yeah.
I don't know if you want to go to the slide,
Sure.
maybe a few back.
Okay.
Or maybe like the one more, just to like the simulation of how it would look. Just one more. So that brick building is our building, and that's our only entrance to our business that we're opening next month. And that shows that it's going to be closed off.
So you'll have no front door?
That is our front door.
Your front door is in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
So has the city planned anything for us to still have access for our patrons and ADA accessible?
Yeah, in fact, the entire alley is a pedestrian access. It's next
Yeah.
to the parking lot, so it's, you probably will have improved access because there won't be vehicles coming down that alley any longer.
Yeah, correct. But we're opening in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So will there be access in 3 weeks?
We'd have to get back to you. I don't know exactly what the timeline of the project is. Just like this lady was asking about her parking lot, there's going to be times where it's going to be tough. Probably going to be the same for you, but we can get you more specific dates and times when that's going to occur.
Did the city even know about a project that was being made in the alley?
We've actually been in communication with you, our building official,
Today.
Public Works.
Today.
And no, the building official has been in communication with you for...
Today.
Okay, hey, let's let whoever has the microphone.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, I think we might hopefully be a staple with all the other businesses downtown, and hopefully we could just access it safely, because that's what it's all about, safety, within Gourmet Alley.
Yes, what I was about to say is that we will continue to be in communication with you. We've already brought specifically your business to the contractor.
Okay.
So Jared is aware of it. We will try to find you a solution. We believe that this is the accessible access for you. You could still access it off of Monterey, but you have steps to get to the second floor.
Correct.
So we are working with Jared to accommodate your accessible access to be able to open and succeed for a new business.
Of course, that's what we want for downtown, correct?
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think it is fair to say that there are numerous businesses that have come to town in the last couple of years, and we're really happy about that. But we just, couldn't anticipate that when the project was being developed. But as Heba said, we're certainly going to try to see what we can do for you. Yeah. Okay.
My name is Tim Bostock. I own TFB Designs and the building on 55 West 6th Street. It's on the corner of Gourmet Alley and 6th Street. My wife Rachel and I have ran the business there since 2011. One of the main things we do there is we create graphics for vehicles. There is 2 parking spots, private, paved behind our building. Every day we're open, I park customers' vehicles there to take measurements and patterns so that we can design their graphics. And then I have them bring their vehicles back and I install their graphics in that lot, and I've done that since 2011. From what I've heard, multiple things is that after this project, we will not have vehicle access back there, or we will have a manual gate or something along the lines. Those things would make business very difficult for us. We had proposed maybe a type of parking lot arm which would have like a sensor, or we could have a button to automatically open it when we needed to bring cars in and out to work on from our parking lot. I'm also during construction between now and the end of the year. It's going to be quite difficult for us to do any kind of installations or to take measurements and patterns off vehicles. So I had talked to George about possibly getting a couple assigned parking spaces on 6th Street in front of our shop that we could use to work during that time. But my main concern is after the project's done, that we still have easy accessibility to our parking lot so we can continue doing business the way we have.
Yeah. As I stated, you've been talking to George. You emailed me too, and thank you for doing so. Yes, we're working on the options to see what we can do. You talked about an arm. We've talked about other types of ballards. whatever we can do, but just give us a little bit of chance to, work through that and see what we can work out with you as well. And then, like you talked about, maybe a couple of temporary parking spots. Those are things that we certainly can accommodate, so it's not so disruptive to your business. But we hear you, we're aware of your problem, and we're just trying to figure out what to do about it.
Has there been a finalized plan of what's going to happen there as far as access points or where vehicles are going to be able to enter and exit after the construction?
Actually, we're showing it now in just as a concept. But if you see this yellow line and purple line, this is the future barrier. It's likely to be a gate that you would be able to open and close with a remote. And we added this set of bollards beyond your work area. So we're already thinking about it. We will accommodate it in the design. And we're also aware of your need during the construction.
Okay, great.
I also have a question. What are you guys going to do to address the overhead power lines after the construction project's completed? Is there a certain timeline of when you have to have PG&E go back in, put underground power lines, and then we're going to have another construction project ongoing after that?
The timing, that's why we had to remove this item from the scope. Because of the timing it would take to underground the utility poles. We're coordinating with PG&E. I cannot, unfortunately, give you a specific timeline now of when it would be possible, but this would be implemented and funded separately.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Parks, and I'm just a Gilroy resident. Very excited about the whole project and everything, and read all about it. Where my confusion lies is that what Caltrans is telling the city and what Caltrans says on the Clean California grant guidelines as far as amendments seems totally different. In cycle 1, it said that no funds will be released if they fail to meet the requirements of the grant that they received. And, of course, changes have to be done through amendments, but in black and white it says amendments will not be considered unless the changes are minor and do not reduce project benefits. Originally, we were going to do 2 alleys. Now it's 1. The project's been cut by 2/3. To me, that's major. And then it also stated in bold and underlined that amendments for extra time won't be considered. And then I thought, well, maybe because of inflation, they've kind of eased their way through that. So I checked the guidelines for cycle 3, which they're doing now, and they actually still have that there. And they added some language that if there's price increases, that's not a reason for making a change to the scope. They're still expected to carry it out. So to me, my concern as a citizen is that we won't get reimbursed with our state deficit between, 32 to 78 billion, depending on who you ask. If we were to get audited, given that they're very clear and explicitly state this in the amendments, it's very different than what we're hearing from the city.
Okay. Well, Cheryl, you and I can agree on one thing. We're both terrified of the state, okay? To answer your first part is that we received approval and a contract amendment from the state of California. So whatever they've written, they say they're not going to do, they're doing. And one of the reasons why they're doing it is because there were many cities like us that had these projects from 18 months ago. You think you can do all this work for $3.9 million, and you go out and bid it, and it comes in at $5.5, $6 million. Everybody knows right now you're paying more for everything. And so the state realized that. The other thing the state realized, too, and the reason why they gave us the extension and let us keep the money, is they know that we didn't do anything wrong. If we had messed this up, if we had broken every rule and broken everything that you read there, they weren't going to give us an extension and say, go ahead and keep the money, keep doing it. So they had to become flexible. They were running into this at a lot of different places. I don't know that we've cut it by 2/3, but the thing to remember that Heba just told you is that we're still doing all of that part of the grant funding, and then we had to get creative. We had to figure out ways to implement or incorporate the other work into other projects that we had going. And so like the paving of Railroad would be part of our pavement improvement plan, which was already in the project list for streets to be redone.
Well, I think Railroad would be very important because Railroad earned us a lot of points in the competitive application because of the neighborhood that it's in. So I just worry that we get audited. It's not that they'll let us keep the money. We're just not going to get reimbursed for the money.
Yeah, and I don't know where this has come that we got a lot of points because of Railroad, because it was the first thing they took out. It was the state that wanted it out. So they couldn't give us points credit and then say, we're going to take the major part of your project, but let you do Gourmet. Gourmet Alley is and has always been the focus of this grant because it transitions 7th Street down to 4th Street as a pedestrian alley and walkway that generates business activity. So, thanks, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I own the Working Man's Emporium. Moving the business from San Jose to here, Monterey, and 5th. My only question is, will there be any temporary loading and unloading zones for freight?
Yes, we will provide zones for loading, but we would need to coordinate with all the businesses to find out the optimum locations for these loading zones to serve more than one business. So I would encourage you to connect with us, and we're open. We would like all businesses to thrive, whether there is construction or not. So we'll help in any way we can.
Hi, my name is Bartolo Solorza, and I'm at 7578 Gourmet, and we only have that entrance too, and over there. And we only do it on Saturdays.
I have really bad hearing.
Okay, I'm at 7578 Gourmet, and we only do it on Saturdays, and that's the only entrance we have in there.
Okay. I would suggest, could you give your information to Victoria, and she can look and see your business, and again, like we're doing with all these folks, is trying to figure out how we can make this all work. Thank you.
It's an open spot for what it's worth. It's not the enclosure area.
Oh, the contractor said that is not in the enclosure area, so it's an open spot for work.
7578.
7578? Yeah, so you should be okay.
Good evening, Jimmy.
Hi, Bruce.
Yeah, we know me. And also thank the staff for all the work. Looking forward to it. We've been waiting for it for a long time, but getting to the nuts and bolts of it, am I to understand that both parking lots will be closed at the same time?
Yes, that's our understanding as well. Starting next week through September. The parking lot between 6th and 7th will remain open, though. And the parking areas between 5th and 6th, not the whole area will be closed.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
But you at least have the new parking lot on 7th. What my bigger concern is, I'm Bruce at Cafe 152 on the corner of 4th and Eagleberry. So I compete for parking with the post office. And so you got, 20, 30 that you're going to put onto the street someplace. And so now I'm struggling, which we're already at ground zero, which during lunchtime is a very difficult spot at best, contrary to what, the parking statistics show. Because, customers have only got 30, 45 minutes. So I know it's going to be a struggle, but I'm still trying to understand. So is Garrett going to be there hustling on both those parking lots at the same time, making it look beautiful? So we can get people back into those parking spots? I don't want to put the onus back on him, but I want to know, Because I remember 10 years ago when we repaved Eagleberry, we closed it down from 1st all the way to 10th. And I know more. I never saw much more than about one block being worked on at a time. I'm just saying. So I'm not trying to drag up the old stuff, but I'm, considering we're really tight on parking, and I know it's going to be a struggle. So the parking is probably one of my biggest concerns. And I think for a lot of the people here,
And we hear your concern, and we will need to make adjustments as we go. But this is something that we have to look at closely. I wouldn't be able to promise anything at this point. But we hear you. Jared is here also to hear your concerns. And
who's besides the contractor, because he's just doing his job? Who's our point person for the city?
You actually have a number of us here today. Rachel is the communication manager. Victoria is the finance, the economic manager. The project manager on the public works side is George, and I'm also available. So you will always find one of us.
So nobody answers the phones, I just call Jimmy.
You do anyway. You know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Giovanni Albanese, co-owner of Settle Down Brewery. I want to reiterate the same concerns Eric at Promised Land has for continued access to the back, pallet size deliveries on a regular basis. Definitely no way to receive the packages through the front. It needs to come through the back, and that's during and after. Once it becomes pedestrian, we need to have that access. An additional question that I have is, if you visited our location, we're still kind of under construction in the back, trying to build out a patio. That's kind of a process that's going to begin, I assume, in the coming weeks or months, coinciding with this work. Will we be allowed access for a crew to come in there to do their work on our site while this is underway?
Mm-hmm. Well, one, thank you, and it's nice to hear from all the breweries. I've been to all of them, so it's very important to me that we do keep those open and you have your supplies, so thank you for that. I think we're going to have to get into the specifics of the timing of your construction, the timing of our construction, and how do we maneuver so you don't have as many disruptions. It's really the devil's in the details with a lot of this stuff, but I hope you see that we're here trying to listen to you and trying to figure out ways to make it work. So thanks, Giovanni.
Hello, Sammy Trujillo. I got a question. This is mainly going towards the contractor. The subcontractors and the contractors' vehicles, will they be parked inside the yellow zone, or will they be all parked outside?
I could ask them to park inside, just so that we don't eat up the already valuable, parking space. I get it, it's scarce, so
Okay, that was.
I can gladly give that instruction to everybody. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the answer, if you didn't hear, is that all the construction workers and all them will park inside the yellow, which the parking lot is closed, so they won't be taking up available spots in the area.
Hi, I'm Dawn, 7473 Monterey Street. Question about ADA. It looks like we're going to lose some handicap spots for quite a while. Do we have enough other handicap spots in town for those folks to park?
I'm sorry, which handicap spots are you referring to?
Between 5th and 6th behind, all that parking is going to be, there's a number of handicap spots that are going to be wiped out. So where do they park?
Yeah, like right there.
Oh
yes,
right
there?
yes, within the parking lot.
Within the parking lot that's going away temporarily.
Oh, I see. Then this is something that will need to be accommodated on Monterey. So this is something else we need to look at.
Okay. And then I think I read that construction's happening Monday through Saturday. Is that correct? All day and like 9 to 5?
Because we're
7 to
trying
7.
to complete the project relatively quickly.
Gotcha.
We need to report on the grant by the end of the year.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cindy, and I live downtown next to the Eagleberry parking lot. And my concern is that do they have to shut down both parking lots at the same time? Can't we compromise or come up with something here? Because even for those of us that live down here, even to have a parking to unload our groceries, what are they going to do when we have the events? The car show, the music downtown, where is everybody going to park? And it's a challenge already for parking. I just can't imagine these two parking lots being closed at the same time for all these months.
I would hate to put Gerald on the spot because this has been the plan in terms of the construction zones. But again, we have to look at it together and find if there could potentially phasing in the setup so that we can allow for some parking areas to remain open.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I just want to reiterate what Cindy is talking about because I live downtown. We all live together, and it's a challenge as it already is, the way it is with all the businesses, all the people, everything going on to get groceries, to get a decent parking lot. Sometimes you have to drive around and around, events going on. Sometimes we have to park 2 blocks down the road, and I'm just imagining myself, figuring out 5 bags of groceries, 2 blocks down the road for months, let alone the constant noise that's already going on there 7 days a week. I mean, can we not just have one day? So I think it's wonderful what they're trying to do, but it's very frustrating when you're coming from this point, when you live there and, that's your home.
Hi, I'm Annie Palmer, and I was just noticing on the map there, the empty lot that's to the right. Is there some way the city can lease that lot temporarily?
We've tried for
years. I know you've tried buying it, but leasing it?
We've tried buying it. There is no options there.
Just thought it would be a solution temporarily. So
we would love to have that lot.
Hi, Jane Howard, Gilroy Chamber of Commerce. Just a couple of operational questions. First of all, thanks for this opportunity for all of us to be here. Recology, of course, is our company that picks up our trash, and many of us have our trash containers facing Gourmet Alley. So do we have a new plan with Recology that we already have ready to go next week, or how does that work?
Yes, we do have a plan. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to share the details, but the collection will continue as usual.
So what's going to help us then is, we have a breezeway, so we can close our gate facing Gourmet Alley, which we probably would do while this is going on for operational purposes, but our trash is back there. So we'll have to know pretty soon, like next week.
Okay, is the plan to move them to the area that's open?
Yes, on the sides of the street.
So I guess the plan is to move them to the side streets and to the area that's open.
So we roll out to 5th or 7th?
Yes.
5th or 6th?
Yeah.
So,
is
that for sure, or do we need to get...
So, Heather, what you're saying is that the trash that they normally do back here, they're going to have to go to each end.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know if we have communicated that. Doesn't sound like we have, so we need that feedback. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thanks. You need a mic. You got to have a microphone.
Hi, parking is obviously an issue. I was looking over the plans, and I did notice that there's a somewhat significant reduction in parking spots in both the 5th and 6th Street lot and the 4th and 5th Street lot due to the planters that are going in there. So I want to know how many spots are being reduced in both of those parking spots, and somewhat unrelated to the scope of work, but what is the city's plans to supplement those parking spots that are being taken away?
The planned reductions in the parking lot between 4th and 5th is going to amount to about 22 stalls. So 36 will remain. And for the parking lot between 5th and 6th, there will be a reduction of 24. So 62 will remain. And this is mainly, yes, slightly less than that. But we will still look closely at the configuration. This is mainly because we had to accommodate space for the trash enclosures. And for access purposes in an, I'm sorry?
Can you use the microphone, please? Oh, is it gone?
The planters actually is because of the new configuration of how the parking stalls will be laid. And a point like this, where now there are parking spaces, because the access would be closed, we have to allow this circulation pattern, right? So these spaces would have to be eliminated. So we're not technically removing parking spaces because planters, we cannot put a parking stall where the planter is. Make sense?
Well, we don't have any future plans. The city did just build the 7th and Eagleberry parking lot for $2.3 million. So the thought is that the whole alley is activated to use that 7th Street parking lot even more because it's a pedestrian way. So.
Are you going to be patrolling more down there then? Because we're open till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and if there isn't parking and we're having our clients walk even 2 blocks at 9 o'clock at night, it's not safe. So is that, I mean, we don't really have a lot of patrolling down there. And even for us, I don't want my employees walking at night down there.
At all in downtown?
Not really. I don't even like getting to my car outside of my business downtown at night, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've got people trying to climb up on my building. We have people on our cameras shooting up in our back parking lot. No, it's really not great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't have an answer for you, but I do understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Hi, Jude Miranda, Chamber. I have a question. Is it okay if the 7th Street parking lot is full when we all, have to park over there for a few months? Can we use the library parking lot? Is that allowed?
You can use any parking lot that's Civic Center
lots?
related, the library, City Hall,
Okay.
the street. We have plenty of parking along the street. It's just going to be a farther walk.
Okay.
That's definitely true.
Thank you.
Hi, Jimmy. Gary Walton. I have a couple questions. One has to do with the trash enclosures.
Sure.
They seem awful large. And the location, I kind of question the location because the one between 4th and 6th is still right on the alley, and you're making them, they're going to carry more garbage, so there's going to be more smell because you're accumulating all that stuff in one place. So there's 2 ways you can reduce the number of trash bins by picking up more often. And so, but that would create more parking if those were smaller. And I kind of question, they all seem to be located right on the pedestrian walkway of the alley. And part of the reason of moving the garbage out of the alley is to get the smell somewhere else. So you might want to look before you do the work, what's the best size for those? 2, where should they go? And 3, who's going to pay? How are you going to set up a system to get all the merchants in that block to pay for the garbage? Because I haven't heard anything about that yet, unless the city's going to pay for it. So that's one of the issues. And as my understanding, you're going to chip seal the alley and slurry seal the parking lot.
Actually, both alleyways, the railroad and Gourmet Alley, will have a rubberized chip seal and then cape seal. The parking lots will have slurry seal, mainly because we need to change the configuration of the parking stalls, and it will be a new pavement marking, right?
Right. So, I've worked with Trinchero for years. They're a great company. I'm glad that you hired them. There's an economic multiplier of hiring local people, and so that's like 8 times because he's local versus somewhere else. So that's great. I'm glad that you did that. I trust Trinchero. I've used them on a lot of projects. They'll get the job done, but I don't quite understand the length of this project if all you're doing is chip sealing and slurry sealing, and you can set that up to do one. It's days. It's not a long process. We do streets all the time. It doesn't take any time at all. So I have a question about the timing of what else has to be done. What's dragging this out so long? The other part is, why can't you do one block, then do the other block, and then open up the one block? And if you're going to stage equipment there, well, Dave's here. He's got a dirt lot. You might talk to him about putting it there. And, I know Simone. I go talk to Simone and see if he can get his lot. So, there's options. So I don't know everything. I don't know your schedule of the time that you got, but it just seems kind of long. The third trash enclosure backs up to one of my lots, and I have an easement through that property. And so you would be covering my easement that I have on that property. So, and I can dig out my title policy and show you that. But definitely, like I said, I'm glad that it's moving forward. I'm glad that you're having trash enclosures, that we're getting all those other ones out of the way. But I do question the size, and I question the location. So you might look at that a little bit. It's a loss. I didn't hear a direct number of how many parking spots are going to be lost, but did I hear like 60?
Actually, the numbers that I was referring to is following construction, and it would add up to about 46, I believe, total.
The question was, what was it before, and what is it going to be after?
I'll be happy to tell you that.
Because it doesn't sound like it's going to be an increase.
So in the parking area between 4th and 5th, it's 58 that will go down to 36. And the parking area between 5th and 6th, that's 86 that will go down to 62.
So about 40 spaces, approximately.
Yes, 24 and 22, so it's about 46 spaces. And with regards to your other concern, we will work with Jared about that. Again, for phasing of the closure. Yes, you're right. The resurfacing of the alley would probably take a few days, but the trenching would take a few weeks, right? I would leave that to Gerald, but we will try to minimize the impact.
So I'm assuming you have a schedule. Are you going to post that online?
We do have a schedule, although the schedule assumes these actual closures from next week through September. So we will have to work together to tighten up the schedule.
All right. Well, I think if you can figure out a way to keep something open, even one of them open, it's going to alleviate a lot of the angst that people here have about where they're going to park and where their customers are going to park. Because I have a lot of tenants that are going to be affected by shutting down everything. And so you can't work everywhere at the same time. Maybe there's a different way to stage the work, still get it done. But it just seemed like if what I read, you're going to work 6 days a week, and what was written, it wouldn't be open until like October, which seems like way, way, way too long for the job of what we're doing. So anyway, I have, if you want, I'll bring you the title report about my easement on that property.
Yes, I am familiar with your easement. I believe you're referring to this triangle area, which will not be impacted.
Yeah,
that's yours?
Tony's.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. So is it? Did you say that was it the dumpster was going to go in that triangular piece there?
No, the triangle will not go away,
Okay.
and the capacity of the trash enclosures is based on the overall size, and it's going to cover both recycling and solid waste.
All right. Well, if possible, I wouldn't mind. Don't want to take any more time, but maybe I could meet with you, and then talk about some of the other issues because I don't want to take all the time. And then Jimmy, if you got a chance, I'd like to talk to you as well about kind of the process. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. This lady has been patient. You're good now? Okay.
I have a question about some of the buildings along Gourmet Alley, as you know, are under construction. We have some buildings that still don't have power. So my question is, are we going to be able to continue to work on these buildings during the time? Because we need access to the alley to be able to bring material in, and we have to have PG&E come in and run the power and stuff. So what are we going to do about that during this time frame?
Yes,
I think that is the intent. It's not like the area is quarantined. It's not like you can't have access. And I think it just has to be.
You're telling me I can't access it.
Well, we're telling you we're going to be disruptive, and that is going to have some lack of access. But I don't think we're saying that there's no way to get in and out. And as we've said in some other statements, we can work with people if we understand what the concern is and how we get around this. It's going to be disruptive. We admit that. And getting this information helps us be less disruptive.
And if there are certain periods that you will be needing access for, that's why we need to continue on communicating with you throughout the construction months, because we want to accommodate your needs to the extent possible. We also have to finish the construction as soon as possible, but we're here to help.
We would like to be able to finish up as well. That's all I'm pointing out.
Yes, understood.
That sounds like that's going to be very difficult to accomplish.
Good evening, Jimmy, and our new Public Works Director. Thank you. I have empathy for this young lady regarding crime and issues downtown. I know that doesn't pertain to what the subject is tonight, but it's a serious problem. I know that Cafe 152 was broken in and had to spend a lot of money to repair their front doors on, I believe, a couple occasions. And this lady's business was also broken in. So during this time, would it be possible to bulk up the police going through downtown, especially at 9 o'clock at night when people are going home, bulk up their time to go downtown and make sure everything is okay and safe?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. And we did do some enhanced patrolling last year when we had an outbreak. I think if you recall, we actually did end up catching one of the individuals that was doing a lot of that. We definitely up our patrols from May to September when activity downtown is more active, and so yes, we'll have officers out there, but we respond to call volume, and so please don't think something minor doesn't need to be reported or called in police. We log those things, and then we look at see where the hot spots are, and we react. So please keep in contact with our police department.
So that some of it might have been addressed because I came in a little late, but to address the young lady that was talking about her business, I own that building, and I can tell you the amount of investment that I put in that building to keep it nice, right, comes out of my pocket, not the city's, but I pay the tax bill. The roof she was talking about, I had a homeless guy living up there, right? Roof starts leaking. I just had it sealed 7 years prior, right? Put $10,000 in the roof. The guy's living up there. I get a call from the tenant that the roof's leaking. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how can it be leaking? So I get an emergency during the rains. I get an emergency call, have a roofer go out. He gets up on the roof and he goes, can you hand me some bags? There was 250, pound, whatever those black bags are, filled with garbage, CDs, you name it, right? So then, okay, I get that. This is after the break-in of the building at 3 in the morning. where it was broken into, get that call, right? So, we have been communicating to the police, trying to get some additional coverage. So I had to end up re-roofing the building, put in another $28,000 in the roof alone, right? I try to keep it nice, try to keep the tagging down. So to tie this into the new project that you're talking about, which I voted for because there's a lot of blight that's now getting fixed up, I'll give that to the buildings downtown. But there's, I'd say, look, the gentleman that was a nice young gentleman that I called and said, what is this going to bring, this $500,000 that we're putting in for police protection or private protection? Cleanup of the tagging, which, granted, we clean it up now. So that's extra, I would say. And then patrols, private patrols. So I asked the young gentleman, I said, let me just get something straight here. What's the baseline that my tax dollars are paying? Because I've invested on top of that, right? I don't send a bill down to the city, and I'm not a complainer, but I look at it, and there's a point where I'm like, come on. If you're going to shut the building down, my tenant's complaining, right, that they're worried about parking and that, and I missed a lot of it, so I'm not going to pile on. But I'm concerned, and I will have a discussion afterwards as far as how we avoid some of the disruption, because it's revenue. And it's hard to get revenue. It's hard to get people downtown. I know you guys are trying to work to get it beautified. But it's all about a vision and getting that town to where people will want to come downtown and spend their money. And that's not bringing food trucks down where you have a one-time event. They come down and then they go back. And they don't come back, right? So this is where I'm stating to kind of add on to the young lady that occupies that building with her business. I'm the owner of the building, and I'm the guy that puts the investment, gets the call, and takes care of the building. And it's the one right across. It's that Shag Salon right across from the firehouse. So you can all look at it. That building's always kept up. So, that's my bitch session. So
I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. So a couple concerns is the garbage, because after Jane said, because behind the Garlic City building, all those garbage bins are in the building behind locked doors. So obviously we got to figure out what we're going to do about getting those garbage cans out and where they're going to go. And if this garbage enclosure is going to be built, there's probably maybe 20 buildings, 20, 25 buildings with all these garbage cans. That garbage enclosure is going to be huge. So we might figure out a way to be able to let these tenants use their garbage cans that they have that are locked up, that are part of their building, and give them some kind of access to minimize the size of the garbage enclosures that are going outside. That might save us some parking stalls. But that garbage thing, good call, it's going to be an issue, And of course, if the guy's in the middle of the building, he's not going to want to walk down to 5th or 6th Street with garbage. And then also if they're dragging stuff, whether it's, dirty, whatever it might be, it's staining your asphalt, your concrete, whatever you have. So on the cleanliness side, it might not be a good thing, dragging this stuff back and forth before and after construction. Another thing is I'm a little concerned, really concerned about in some parts of the buildings, that railroad alley, it's when they start working on it, the pipes underneath it are old and fragile. And what I'm worried about is that once it starts happening, are we going to have issues with the sewage and the drainage and whatever else might come up? And how are we going to handle that? Like this gentleman said, we're spending a lot of money on these buildings, and I'm glad we're doing the alley, but 2 months from now, are we going to have all these lines plugged up for some reason? So I think that's going to be a big concern with the drainage and the sewer or whatever runs on that back alley.
Thanks, Dave. All right. We have no more. Well, thank you. We certainly learned a lot, and we appreciate your feedback, and we're even going to appreciate your patience as we try to make this part of town, a lot nicer. But you have contact information. If you have a problem, you know how to find us, and I hope you see that we are trying to work through some of these issues. There are going to be some things we just didn't think of, and there's going to be some things that couldn't be anticipated, but this is going to be a great project. And groundbreaking is Friday at 9 o'clock, so please come, bring your cameras, and bring your enthusiasm. And then on Monday, we'll start construction, so please bring your patience at that time. If we have any questions, thank you so much. Have a great night, and we will post this online as well if you want to watch it. You know somebody who wants to see it. Thank you for attending. Good night.